And we noticed that a large number of you take in those replays every week after the fact at a convenient time for yourselves, which is really great.
Mhm.
And then just for those that have tuned in here live, and I see we're going live on YouTube now. I just want to say, you know, we're pretty close to finishing booking all the June exams in case anyone has any questions about that. We've got a large return to in-person exams. In fact, our Canada Ottawa sessions are going to be held at the NYC studios in Canada, Ontario. And so we thank Olivia for that. It's one of the ways that we collaborate. And we are hosting in-person exams in 17 different communities across the country, which is really fantastic. I didn't expect that much of a response. Given that about 75% of all students now want their exam online, and a number indicated that. So we're working on that as well. And I think we're at the point where all in-person exams are now scheduled as of today, booked. And so next week we'll be working on the Zoom portion of that. The bunch of you that want the online exam, you're going to have that booked by the end of next week. So thanks for your patience in that. If anyone has a question about that or when those dates are, feel free to reach out to our office and we can give you some indication right away over when those dates might be, but they will be in the second half of June. So still 4 weeks away. But anyway, that's just a little bit of housekeeping. We have one more webinar in the Friday series next Friday, May 26th. We're joined by Eleanor Gummer and Cecile DeRosier are going to come with their final installment looking at music by women and BIPOC composers. And this week, a really fitting conclusion. They're looking at 3 Canadian composers, all 3 of which I had never heard of. And they're both unearthing this wonderful material. Publishing it is Eleanor through One Eye Publications. I'm sure some of you have seen snippets or all of some of their previous presentations. They're very pedagogically rich and very enjoyable. And that's how we're going to close out the webinar series next Friday. So I hope you can join us, or at the very least, watch the replay. Now to the matter at hand, we've been looking to book this webinar, at least I have been thinking about it for quite some time and wondering how we can incorporate it. And with the launch of our beginner series, looking at teaching beginner piano, I thought this would be a fitting way to include Olivia Riddell here from NYC Music for Young Children to talk in detail to us all about the NYC program. We've enjoyed a relationship for a very long time as a lot of NYC students, as they graduate, choose to do their grade 1 exam with Conservatory Canada. And as you learn, that also includes a Theory 1 exam.
That's right.
Exciting?
Yeah, that's right. And I just have to say, if you go back, just to go back a little bit on the exams, I remember when we launched the e-exams, I was chair of Conservatory Canada. And, you know, Victoria and Doug McGarry from Rolling Canada and I were all like, oh, is this going to work? What do they think the kids think? And the kids were like, whatever, this is so easy. They're like, what's the big deal? Like, and all of us, I guess, old people were like, it's amazing. And the kids were like, yeah, why haven't we been doing this forever? Right. So I will always have that memory of doing that first e-exam at the Canada NYC head office. And it was so magical and it was just amazing. So I love the fact that Conservatory Canada was the forefront, the leader in that pre-pandemic. You know, that was well before pandemic. I was pregnant with Quinn, and Quinn is 12. So that's how long it's been going on. So it's one of the things that I love about Conservatory Canada is always that forward thinking. Thank you so much for inviting me, Derek.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Yeah, we'll turn this over to you then. I know you've got a slideshow you're going to share with us. If anyone has any questions, throw that in the Q&A or in the chat box, and we can stop and answer those as time goes on. Otherwise, hope you enjoy. And Olivia, thanks for being here.
You're welcome. All right, so it's just going to take me. I'm just going to switch my slides over to make sure that you're not seeing all the nitty-gritty of my PowerPoint. So welcome everybody. I really appreciate the time that you're taking today to learn about Music for Young Children, NYC. And I'm just going to go through what we do and how our pedagogical method works. NYC has been around for 43 years. It was started by my mom, Frances Balodis in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. And I just have to say, I just got off a Nova Scotia spring meeting, an NYC teacher spring meeting with the ladies in Nova Scotia, which was lots of fun, which is one of the things that we do in NYC, is that we have constant and consistent professional development opportunities for our teachers, times to get together. And it just was it's great to see teachers from all around Canada and around the world. So in Music for Young Children, one of our important mission statements, is that we provide the best quality music education to young children by blending the pleasure and the joy of music making with sound instructions. Oh, thanks for putting up the website in the chat there, Derek. I appreciate it. I'm keeping an eye on the chat as well. This mission statement, I think, is really important and represents really well and nicely what we do at MYC. MYC is a structured curriculum. It's a progressive curriculum that each level of MYC builds upon itself. But we want to be and have always been very conscious about blending that pleasure and joy in our music education to our children, because we are teaching very young. We start children as young as 3 years old on the piano in music in MYC. So we want to make sure that we're matching their developmental stages, we're matching their energy levels, all of those different things. Yeah, that's what our mission statement is. So some things that we're going to be reviewing today about MYC. Why would you choose MYC versus private lessons? The MYC Foundation, just a review of our curriculum, what we provide our teachers and teacher support. What's the result of all of this and our students and our successful students, and then figuring out if you want to take that step forward to become an MYC teacher. Again, I hope that you can see that I am open to questions at any time. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat box. And if you have any specific questions or feedback about MYC, maybe you've had some experience with our MYC grads or MYC in general that you would like to ask or share with me, I would love that as well. So I hope you do feel comfortable doing that with me today. So why would you choose group? MYC is taught in a group environment, up to 6 children, and the parents are involved and coming to class with their children. It can be a guardian, it can be a grandma and grandpa, it can be an aunt and uncle, but there is that support happening in class. As you can see in private lessons, we all know I'm a private teacher as well. We generally can just focus on our piano, our scales, triad, perhaps even some hand and warm-up exercises, of course, our repertoire. Maybe there's time for theory, or there's a separate time for theory that's happening. Maybe there's some time for some music history, examination preparation, of course, and sight reading. That should say sight reading, not sigh, although I know a lot of our students do sigh when they see their sight reading. However, in the MYC method, what we do in our classes is we, of course, focus on the piano. We do establish a really good foundation of scales and triad. We do engage with the Hanon exercises in our last level of MYC in Moonbeams 3. That's the last level that it's called. We focus, of course, on repertoire and have engaged with theory from day one. Our students are really setting that really wide and firm foundation in theory, education, and knowledge. We're doing specific studies and etudes and finger exercises to gain that fine motor skills and build those wonderful muscles in our students' fingers. We are doing history and focusing on different composers. We do ear and sight reading. We do rhythm ensembles as well. And Music for Young Children is called Music for Young Children for a reason. We are not piano for young children. We are music for young children because we try and focus on many different elements of being a musician. Not every student that we have gets excited about piano, and I'm sure some of you have definitely struggled with that. So in our MYC classes, we are singing, we are doing rhythm ensembles, we are doing composition, we are doing solfege. Our students learn how to transpose by sight, and we also focus on major and minor identification by ear. I do apologize. I'm doing this from home because I've been sick all week. So if I have I have Murphy's Law, I might have a coughing fit, so I do apologize. Excuse me. So MYC started in 1980 in Nova Scotia, excuse me, because Frances, my mom, was not happy with the method that she was teaching, and she felt that there were some gaps. So my father, being ex-military and very straightforward, said, well, then quit your complaining and write your own method. And so she did. Frances has extensive education background in early childhood education, children with learning disabilities, and has a triple major from Queen's, one of those majors being music. So she definitely had the tools to create something exciting and fun for young children. One of the unique identifiers of MYC is that we are one of the only early child music education systems that utilizes and leads directly into a conservatory system. So in the final levels of MYC, we actually are stepping away from our own published books, and we publish our own books and incorporate either Conservatory Canada, Royal Conservatory, or ABRSM in our locations in Asia. The learning triangle is really important to us at MYC of teacher, parent, and child. And that is not to make the parent a teacher at home. That is to ensure that there is that continued support of learning at home. And so the parent is learning along with that child. When a parent or a guardian attends a class with a child, it's 100% a participation. So the parents aren't sitting back in a room watching what's happening. They are getting up and down with their child. They are actively engaged in their learning, pointing and learning along with their child so they can bring that home and support that learning at home with practice. We also engage in the 4 learning styles: auditory, tactile, visual, and analytical. And we start this off right at the beginning, even with our little 3-year-olds, because we know young children are engaged in different learning styles very quickly. And even though as adults we engage in all different 4 learning styles, we do it a little bit slower. Younger children shift from one learning style to another learning style to another learning style very, very quickly. So all concepts in MYC are taught and utilized, and we use those tools to teach them in those different learning styles. So 1 minute we'll be up and we'll be moving and we'll doing lots of gross motor skills with our students and singing, and then we'll come down to the floor and reinforce that concept that we were just singing about, and we'll do that in a different learning style. And then we'll go back up to the piano in a keyboard ensemble situation and reinforce that concept in another way. So it's really helpful for children who have perhaps learning disabilities, learning challenges, ADHD. We've taught children who are blind, who have MS, who are in wheelchairs, all of those different things, and they have all received wonderful success. We have appropriately paced curriculum based on developmental stages. So what does that mean? That means in a 1-hour lesson, MYC lessons are 1 hour once a week. We are doing approximately anywhere in between 18 to 21 up and down activities, because we know young children's attention spans pretty much matches their age. So we are transitioning from one activity to another anywhere in between 3 to 7 minutes, depending on how old that child is or the age of the class that you're teaching. We have an amazing, strong international team of teachers helping each other. Another unique identifier of MYC is that our teachers work together as a team. We are not in competition with one another. We believe in MYC that when we support one another in a constructive, positive, and respectful way, all of us can succeed. So our teachers share their studio schedules with one another. As I just mentioned, I just came from the Nova Scotia teacher meeting where we were sharing ideas. Because when we share together, we can help each other succeed and think of new ideas. Not everybody knows everything. And when we have some really holistic and transparent, safe sharing, that's when we can really benefit one another. We have really great teacher support from our international head office in Canada. We have an amazing team at head office. Anything from curriculum and teaching to our finances officer. Our financial officer will help our teachers in any way. We have an advertising team that creates all of the advertising assets for you. So you are not creating those ads. We are doing that for you. And we are always instilling the happy habit of learning music. In MYC, it's always about quality for us, quality of our product, quality of our teaching, quality of our teachers. I have to say, the more I talk and the executives that exist within the music education industry always talk so highly of our MYC teachers. Our MYC teachers are such an amazing, engaged group of people. We really do work well together. Okay. So why would you have to take MYC training? Okay, why, if anybody's wondering, why isn't MYC in Long and McQuaid? MYC is a closed method, which means that you have to do training for it. Those trained to teach it may use the MYC materials for their classes in studio. So MYC is not a franchise. We are a licensing agreement, okay? So our MYC teachers are not employees of MYC. Every NYC teacher is an independent business owner who holds a license to offer our NYC method within their own studio. The NYC method is unique in how it's delivered, and the delivery is the key to the program's success and longevity. So we, during those training sessions, really focus on how to teach NYC, how to engage the group teaching. We teach our teachers how to teach in a group method, engaging with those 4 learning styles. In NYC, we do not turn to the book first. That is not our first step. We do lots of different pre-teaching and used pre-teaching tools. So when those children finally open up the book, there is no surprises. And this is a really great way to engage with young children, because young children are not engaged by what they see on a flat piece of paper. They are engaged by other things. But when we finally open up those books, those children are saying, oh, I know that. There's a stepping up pattern. There's a piano. There's forte. And we do that analytical and analysis with our students right away. A multisensory approach to teaching and learning is not something you just read about. Training reaches you in many different ways and valuable ways. And what's awesome about the NYC community and family, as we refer to it often, is that we have teachers who have already gone through training that attend our training sessions again for refreshers. And I love that our teachers do that, because experienced teachers bring such amazing value to the training sessions, because they can bring real life experience. So that's just a wonderful, great way. Learning to teach NYC is like learning a language. You need to immerse yourself in it to get the greatest benefits and understand the depths of the pedagogic method. Some of you may be familiar with that NYC has critters. And so we have our wonderful NYC critters that help us learn our piano geography, as well as the geography on the grand staff, as well as our rhythms. And so when the children are first coming to you in their entry points in Sunshine 1 or Sunbeams 1, which they're 3 to 6 years old, we engage those children with the stories of our critters. As they progress through our program, though, we are replacing that critter and that NYC language with proper industry terminology. So when our NYC grads graduate from NYC, private teachers who have received and accepted NYC grads, you don't have to reteach them. Our students know how to sight read. They know how to harmonize their melody line with 1, 4, 5, 7. They're an amazing counters, and they can keep really good beats. So that's another reason why you have to take training, is to learn about our critters. But why would you want to do NYC? Because it's fun. Honestly, I have a blast teaching my NYC classes, because you're surrounded by such amazing energy, and these young children are just sponges. Studies show that children learn and perform best at tasks when they find it enjoyable. The NYC method combines an innovative and fun child-centered program with traditional piano techniques and engaging in-class activities. We are moving around, we are dancing, we are using boom whackers, we are using rhythm instruments, we are doing keyboard ensembles, we're doing all these amazing things together, so it's so much fun. And when you're surrounded by these little ones, it's amazing what comes out of their mouth, which is so much fun as well sometimes, and makes everybody giggle. NYC builds family bonds. Parent accompaniment and participation is crucial to the success of this program. The parent and child bond as a music team during the lessons as they co-learn music concepts as well as material. The bond carries on at home during daily practice and other family activities. And what's really interesting, is that we have families that have 3, 4, 5, even 6 children that have gone through the program. And those younger students want to take it because they see how much fun the other siblings have in class. And some of the parents have actually shared with me that the 1-hour NYC lessons is really the only time they spend with their children one-on-one during their weekly activities without having their phone in hand and being distracted. So I think that's really something special to be celebrated, and it really does carry on forward with relationships with families. Here's an idea of what an NYC studio, this is what our studio looks like at head office. There's 2 studios here, and then the picture on the right-hand side is our waiting room. So we have a nice, great big space. Our MYC studios, of course, will have up to 6 keyboards in the space because we have up to 6 children in a class. What's important in a studio environment is that it's safe, of course, for young children. It's happy and it's fun and engaging for these young kids to have our puppets and all of those things. So if you're wondering what those bins are on the wall, that's where we keep our puppets and different visual and tactile aids for our children. And you want to have room to move. We also use things like floor staffs. As you can see, that carpet is a great help for our students to engage with gross motor movement by putting and identifying their notes in Mrs. Trebleclef, as we call her, and Mr. Bassclef, and they can find their notes. And we also have floor keyboards that the children can use as well. Our curriculum is a balanced and integrated curriculum of piano, singing, rhythm, composition, theory, listening, movement, analysis, music history, and composer information and performance. So again, it's about creating this environment for children to be successful in building a really wide and firm foundation in music education. Yes, they are able to play the piano. Yes, they are able to read notes. This is not only an auditory focused method, so the children do know their notes on the staff. They are able to engage with that. But as I said earlier today, it's not piano for young children, it is music for young children. And so some children will be really excited about their rhythm ensembles. Some children will get really excited about composing. Some children get really excited about theory and the level of analysis. Because as we know, musicians are not just piano players. We have singers, we have guitarists, violins, we have rappers, we have music producers, we have beatboxers, we have all of these different things in our society. So it's not just about focusing in one area, but when these children leave MYC, we want them to feel like they can go anywhere and be successful. And that is our goal, so that their foundation is so wide and so firm that no matter what direction they go after MYC, they have that feeling of success. Here's just a visual of a balanced circle of what we do in our classes. There's piano, performance, analysis, listening, composition, singing, music history, as I've mentioned, movement, theory, and rhythm. It's important to have that really good balance between the two, and this is what we focus on in our classes and in our method. So if you visit our website and you find it, you'll see an image like this, and this is what we call our program direction. Excuse me. So we have all of these different levels in MYC, and all of the ones that are listed 1, so Sunshine 1, Sunbeams 1, Moonbeams 1, I call our entry points of the program. So these are the holistic, natural moments where children would be entering the method. So Sunshine 1 is gauged for the 3- and 4-year-old beginner. Perhaps you've had students or people in your community that have engaged with pre-piano music and movement appreciation classes, but the parents are like, what's more? What's next? Where are we going? So they can go into Sunshine 1. The Sunbeams 1 is the entry point for the 5- and 6-year-old beginner, and Moonbeams 1 is the entry point for the 7- to 9-year-old beginner. Let's say you had a student, you have a family that came to you and said, look, Olivia, we started Olivia on with private lessons when she was 6, and she's just not engaged, and she had this amazing love of music, but we started private lessons and that just seems to have gone away. You know, would this be okay for us to enter the MYC program? Absolutely. This is one of the wonderful things about the Moonbeams 1 level, to re-engage that love and passion of music in our children. As you can see, these arrows, it is a progressive curriculum. So each year we build upon it, the knowledge that these students have. So Sunshine 1 would move to Sunshine 2. That arrow brings it down to Sunbeams 2, then to Sunbeams 3. And then that last level that I've mentioned before, the Moonbeams 3, is our last level of MYC, where the children are prepared to take their first piano exam and first theory exam. Now, do you have to take a piano exam to graduate from MYC? No, but we are, as I said before, engaged and using that conservatory repertoire and etudes books, or the Conservatory Canada grade 1 books or pre-grade 1 books in our teaching, and those are that is the repertoire our students are learning. The blue sunrise over to the right is our pre-keyboard music and movement program as well. That's for the 2 and 3-year-olds. And while there's no piano in this, we are actually a little different in that we are engaging and teaching these children about rhythms, about dynamics, and about patterns. Patterns are very important to us here at MYC because we know that a good note reader, a child who can read music well is not reading one note at a time. Just like when we're teaching our children how to read, we don't want them to always be looking at one letter at a time, but we want them to start seeing that word as a full word or a full sentence. When children learn how to read music and identify it in a pattern, they're going to be playing that music with more ease, with more continuity. And so patterns are very important in MYC. Age-appropriate material is presented with colorful visual aids, games, and activities. The 4 different entry points specifically are designed for the age development stages of that child. If you are a mom or a dad that are listening to this right now, you know that there is a big difference between a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and there's even more of a big difference between a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. So all of the information and how we train our teachers and the material that is covered for each of those levels is very age appropriate for their developmental stages. So our pre-keyboard music and movement program, we have Music Time for Sunrise. That's for preschools, daycares, and kindergarten. The parents are generally not there, of course, if they're in preschool and daycare. And then we have the Sunrise program, and that's usually offered in a teacher or commercial studio, and the parents attend that class. So we have some wonderful teddy bears that help us learn rhythms in Sunrise, and the frog and the dog that you see in the blue books there. That's Buddy Croak, and Buddy Croak loves forte sounds. And so we have all these amazing, wonderfully engaging stories that go along with our critters to keep those students engaged. Both Sunrise and Music Time for Sunrise help children develop learning and listening awareness, fine motor skills, social interaction, confidence, and attention span. And you know, one of the things with the pandemic that is interesting right now that I have to say is that all of the activities are opening up again, which is wonderful. But what's interesting is, because Dave and I have my husband and I have a 5.5-year-old as well as our 12-year-old, is our 5.5-year-old is still adjusting to coming back into social situations. And so what's interesting is that, you know, what's awesome about MYC is that we provide a really safe, holistic environment in small group situations to start re-socializing our children and teaching them those skills that they have missed during the pandemic. So that's another good benefit. Sunrise, as I said, is our pre-keyboard program. We're teaching them patterns, rhythms, and becoming comfortable singing in a group. So our keyboard programs, and there's some wonderful visuals that we get our students to do on the piano. So our Sunshine 1 is for the 3- and 4-year-old beginners, the youngest entry point of the keyboard program. The children experience large muscle movement in beat and rhythm, as well as more experience in rhythm instrument ensembles. By the end of the year, Sunshine students are playing C major scale and middle C positions, as well as reading from the staff. The goals that our students achieve in Sunshine 1, in every level of MYC, we want to create a happy, positive, happy habit of learning music. We want to be developing those children's listening skills. And at this stage too, with young children, what's important is they start realizing and learning how to listen to someone else besides mom and dad, right? Establishing that foreshadowing and that foundation of them going to school and having to listen to a teacher. So it's great to do this in Sunshine 1. They're going to master the musical alphabet from A to G and play the notes in form of the C major scale and the A minor natural scale on the keyboard. Excuse me. They're going to recognize and reproduce on the keyboard high, middle, and low sounds. They're going to play their patterns, as I've mentioned, on the keyboard and by ear. They're reading on the staff, their line notes and space notes. They're going to be engaging with solfege. And in MYC, if you're wondering, we use a movable do, not a fixed do. And this helps with transposing by sight. We're going to engage in the 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4 time signatures and employ the following rhythms in singing, clapping, dictation, and rhythm and reading. We're going to reinforce left and right modality and fine motor control in the individual fingers. And when you're teaching 3- and 4-year-olds, some of those children, depending on where they're at, as we know with young babies, when babies are, when you have a baby, babies do things with both hands, right? They're doing two things at the same thing with one hand. And that's part of the whole development of our brain and being able to separate for our left side from our right side. Some of our students that come to us in Sunshine 1 haven't reached that stage yet of separating their left hand and their right hand and working independently. And so that's one thing that we're working on with them in Sunshine 1. We want them to experience independence in learning and interaction with other children in a learning situation. They need to learn how to get along with one another. In our NYC classes, we talk about how we're a team. And when you're part of a team, yes, you have individual goals, but you also have team goals. And when you're a musician, yes, there are times that you're going to be on your own and performing and on your own, but maybe you're going to be in a choir, or maybe you'll be in a rock band or a youth orchestra. So there's lots of things that you have to learn on how to work together as a team, which is great to start off from the very beginning. We want them to learn the level of sound in their daily lives, which can be incorporated into their music and engaging with those following dynamics. All of our students are encouraged to play in a recital, either a solo or with the class in a keyboard ensemble or a rhythm ensemble. In NYC, we encourage the idea and environment of culture that we want to share our music. This is part of what's amazing about music, is being able to share it with others and reducing that anxiety about performance. Also in NYC, we teach our children how to compose, and we actually just wrapped up our 36th year of our annual composition festival. And from what we can still tell, it is one of the largest composition festivals for young children in the world. So our Sunshine Ones are taught, and they compose their own simple 4-measure melody. I'm just going to pause here for a second, and this is what I like to do every so often. Does anyone have any questions for me about either the Sunrise program or Sunshine, or any comments or questions about what I've talked about so far today?
So if anyone has questions, feel free to put those in the chat box, the Q&A, or use the raise your hand feature. We can easily bring you online just with your audio only to ask a question if you prefer to do it that way.
Thanks, Derek. I know I get really excited when I start talking about NYC, and so I know I can talk really quickly. And so if there's things that I've gone through too quickly or I've breezed over, I don't want you to feel like you can't raise your hand and just ask me a question, okay? All right, so Sunbeams 1 is the entry point for the 5- and 6-year-old beginner. Sunbeams are the first introduced to piano geography and rhythms through our NYC Critters to help set their foundation of music knowledge and education. However, the pace of learning for these Sunbeams matches their development stages, so it's done a little bit faster than what you would see in Sunshine 1. Vocabulary development is the focus for this age group. At the stage, we introduce big kid terminology to introduce concepts, finger numbers, and keyboard geography. So the goals that our students have in Sunbeams 1, and as a teacher that you are working towards each student to be being successful in, is of course number 1 right away again is creating that happy habit of learning music. Developing listening skills to focus on direction from the teacher. Now these are usually SK, JK, junior kindergarten, or senior kindergarten students, maybe even about to start grade 1, not quite, depending on where you're located in North America. And while they're also establishing their developmental stage of listening to their teacher, this is then going to also be reinforced in their NYC classes. We want them to learn how to listen and wait for musical introductions for keyboard playing, singing songs, and playing rhythm ensembles. Our Sunbeam 1 students are playing warm-ups, including short studies in scales, and they're engaged in the keys of C major, G major, and A minor. Our students in Sunbeams 1 are harmonizing their melody line with bridges and primary chords in these keys. Our Sunbeam 1 students transpose some of the simpler pieces from the key of C major to G major and to A minor, and this is done by sight. That's not rewriting the music into that new key. They look at that music in C major, and then we talk and teach them how they can transpose that by sight into the key of G major. We're going to be using some simple nursery rhymes by ear. We're using arm and hand signs of solfege to follow the direction of sound. Their note reading is extended to include middle C to high C in Mrs. Trebleclef and down to low B ledger line, low B on line 2 to ledger line D in the bass clef. We are using and engaging echo singings for arm signs for do, re, mi, so, la. Learning those time signatures in 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4, but also then identifying the difference by sound between the 3/4 and 4/4. And they are also engaging to sing in 6/8 time. The students in Sunbeams 1 will be engaging in these rhythms, and they'll be doing that with rhythm dictation, singing, clapping, and in keyboard and rhythm ensembles. We want them to experience independence in their learning, but in a group situation. They're going to be learning those following dynamics and well as engaged with a fermata and, of course, our stop sign. Recognizing major and minor tonality in singing and keyboard pieces, and the relationship of keys to each other in both major and minor keys. We're going to develop the use of two hands separately and together. So these 5- and 6-year-olds are starting to really explore and realize that they have two halves of their body. So we're going to be really encouraging and establishing that good foundation of knowing how to handle that. We want to also apply musical knowledge and have them compose their own composition and play it in a recital. Moonbeams 1, or My Choice 1, is a entry point for our 7- and 8-year-old beginners. The older beginner program is designed to support the students' growing sense of independence. Reading becomes the primary focus for gathering information, while the songs, ensemble, and keyboard repertoire incorporate early piano literature, folk songs, technique, and harmonization. The goals in Moonbeams 1 is to create a positive, happy habit of learning music. No surprise there here at MYC. Developing their listening skills, developing their oral music skills, reading notes on the grand staff and the treble, and of course the grand staff includes treble and bass clef. Mastering the musical alphabet from A to G and playing now C major, G major, D major, and F major, as well as A and E minor scales. And in MYC, we continue to teach the natural minor as well as the harmonic minor. And our students are harmonizing those scales with their 1, 4, 5, 7 triads. We want our students as well to be able to recognize the 1, 4, 5, 7 chords in printed music, as well as to add chords to simple melody lines. So our children are also taught to read those chord symbols above the melody line, right, which also encourages them to be able to go in any direction after, because as we know as musicians, you may not necessarily have that left hand written out with the chords. It may just be showing you the chord symbols above your melody line. We want to develop a good piano technique, strong curved fingers, legato, staccato touch, 2- and 3-note slurs, transfer of melody smoothly from one hand to another through technical exercises. So anybody who's wondering, well, I heard in group you really don't get to develop your technique. In MYC, we spend a lot of time to ensure that solid and wide foundation includes technique. So when our students are graduates from MYC and going to whatever instrument they wish, they also have a solid foundation in technique. That is very important to us. We're engaging with echo singing with solfege from do to la, and they're playing simple selections in 5-finger positions by ear. They're going to transpose some of their simple 5-finger songs and some of those simple selections into different keys, again by sight. They're engaging in the 2/4, 3/4, 4/4 time signatures in singing, playing, and rhythm dictation. Now, one of the fun things, if you're wondering, what's rhythm stories, Olivia? I don't know what rhythm stories are. Well, in MYC, our children learn how to listen to a rhythmic motive that is presented to them by their teacher. They're going to take that information in, and they're going to understand it, and then they write it out on their floor in their studio with their teacher using wonderful manipulatives and tactile objects. So they would have a rhythm story like and we go through a very specific process on how to make sure that they have that information. We don't clap it only one time. And then those children are trained. We are giving those children those tools to take that information in, to understand it with a good depth and width, and be able to output it and bring it back out. And for us that are very experienced in private teaching, this is an amazing set of the foundation for clapbacks in an exam, as well as our sight reading and playbacks. Yes. They're going to utilize 6-8 for singing. They're going to develop rhythm fluency in singing, clapping, rhythm dictation, and reading using the following rhythms. They're going to experience major and minor tonality in singing and keyboard material. And they're going to understand musical terms for dynamics and tempos and other music directions as they are introduced throughout the year. So our students are not only engaged with dynamics and different tempos, but they have tempos, DCL, FINE, DCL, Signa, all of those wonderful things that are involved in our music. We're going to incorporate notes, rhythms, and patterns, basic composing techniques, and any other relevant music terms learned into a simple composition. Again, we are doing composition in MYC. And the way that we teach composition in MYC is different in the sense that we're not giving, 2 measures of music and telling our students to complete it. We start right at the bottom with what is a motive, what is sequence up, what is sequence down, what is inversion, what is retrograde, what is repetition. And we do that in a really fun and engaging way in MYC to engage those young students and then transition them to be able to write their own composition. If you haven't had a chance to check out the Composition Festival and all the wonderfulness that we had this year, on our website under news and events, there is there's a page where you can find out more about our Composition Festival and actually hear and see these compositions from these amazing students. The last one, of course, as we see and with that consistency, is playing in a recital. We have some fun dictation books in MYC, and we call them our activity books. We use it as our dictation books containing resource pages and parent guides, so supporting communication for our parents on how to guide their children through MYC and studying with their child. And the artwork that you see on these books are actually from MYC students. So part of the Composition Festival is that every year we have a Composition Festival artwork contest that children get to submit what they love about MYC or how does music make them feel, anything and anything. And then we have a competition and we actually put that out to the public and people get to vote what their favorite one is, and the winners get to be published on our books that are sent around the world. What our students get for materials on top of their student manuals is an MYC bag, our magnetic tin sheet, as well as magnets for them to engage with. This is a wonderful tactile materials that we have for our students. They also get a castanet so they can practice their rhythm ensembles at home, but also engage with it in class as well. These materials are used in class and at home. So you can see some of the things that we do in our MYC classes here on these pictures. You can see those families working together, both at the piano, down on the ground with their tin sheet, but also a larger floor keyboard, which is excellent to engage young children with. Our theory is very important to us too in MYC because we want theory goes along with having that really solid foundation. We have specific theory books that our students engage with in the later years of our program called Bright Ideas 1 and 2, and they cover the following topics: clefs, note naming and ledger lines, note naming, values and time signatures, sharps, flats, key signatures and relative keys, analysis, intervals, semitones, our whole tones, scales, melody writing, transposition, triads, 1, 4, 5, 7 chords, and exam preparation. If you're wondering where our students finish at the end of MYC in regards to theory, it's the equivalent of Conservatory Canada's level 1, grade 1 theory, or RCM's level 5. since they jigged around their theory syllabus a few years ago. Generally, our students with ABRSM, when they finish MYC, can go into either level 2 or level 3 ABRSM, because we teach our students foundation, and knowledge is so wide and so strong, and they have such a great understanding of what they're doing. It's just not simple regurgitation. So here are those rhythm stories that I was talking to you about. So here's what these are manipulatives that we use. So these are students that have written their rhythm stories, and once they tell their rhythm stories, they're going to be engaged with puppets and pointers and telling their story to their friends and their moms and dads. So in MYC, it's not only important to be able to take the information in, understand it, and then be able to output it, but also it's important to us at MYC that our children are audiating and vocalizing their rhythms while they are clapping or while they are playing the piano. And we know as musicians that sometimes this is a really big deal and a wonderful gift to give children to that level of comfort to be able to perform and play or clap while engaging with saying their rhythms out loud. Here's some pictures of a music studio that we have in Singapore of movement in class. You can see our students are having lots of fun, but so are moms and dads. I tell my moms and dads that you don't have to go to the gym anymore when you join an MYC class, because you're in there and having fun and getting up and down with your children just like they are. In every section of an MYC student manual, there's a listening section. And in that listening section, we cover dynamics, tempo, articulation, and we have concurrent selections within our student manuals that match what they are learning. So when a student in MYC is learning about a specific thing, it's not only reinforced in the listening section, it's reinforced in the playing section, it's reinforced in the rhythm ensemble section. We are most likely singing about it with a conceptual song, and they're doing a homework page. Excuse me. As I said, we do singing in MYC. How do we do singing? We use singing with solfege, again with movable do. We have conceptual songs. We have composer songs. Oh, my body is just doing lots of things today. I'm sorry, everybody. Just for fun and movement songs, which is so important when you're teaching young children. These children need to learn how to have fun and move their bodies in appropriate ways, and that it's okay to be silly and it's okay to have fun. And what better way to reinforce that by doing it yourself as a teacher and moving around the room and wiggling and singing and doing all those different things. And again, in MYC, if you've ever seen one of our student manuals, it does not start at the front of the book and go to the end. That is not how our book works. That's not how the method works at all. So we're jumping from one page in one section of the book to another page in another section of the book, and all of those things are connected, and those are called what we call concurrent selections. And there's a picture of doing some singing in a class. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. No, I'm going to stop that. Okay, there we go. Okay, as we talked about, we have a composition festival. We are one of the largest international composition festivals for children, especially in the age group that we teach, because our little 3-year-olds are submitting those compositions, and no, the parents do not write them, and the children are writing those compositions with their friendly MYC critters. Every child is rewarded for their efforts. So there is a competitive side that we have of that festival, but there's also a non-competitive side of that. And every student in MYC that participates, there we go, in the festival receives a big sticker to say, way to go, and thank you for participating. Our ensemble playing is really important as musicians, because we want our students to learn how to listen, actively listen to one another as musicians. We're teaching them the skills of how to play together as a team, how to listen to different parts of that music and know when to come in and when it's your turn. Not like private lessons in the sense that when you're private, it's just yourself, right? We want to develop an innate sense of rhythm within our students. We're listening in action and working as a team. And again, those ensemble playing is also reinforced with other things throughout our student manual in each level. So we're going to talk about teacher support for a moment. The ideas and support available for everything you need. We have teacher mentoring, NYC focused online and in-person professional development meetings, informational webinars on how to run a successful studio, NYC colleagues and connections, and NYC, if you visit the nyc.com website and you go to the Find a Teacher, what we provide our teachers are microsites within our nyc.com site. So we have an international directory of all NYC teachers, and you get that as part of being an NYC teacher. We have newsletters that go out to our teachers. Every single one of our teachers that is trained in the NYC method, their classes are visited to ensure the high quality and standard of the delivery of the method. So that happens for the first 3 years of teaching NYC. We do hold international conferences. Now, the last one that we held was in 2020. So that quickly shifted to an online conference, but it was lots of fun. And we are definitely talking about the next in-person international conference that will most likely be in 2025. At the head office level, we handle national advertising for our teachers. We provide advertising help to our teachers and provide those assets to you so you are not creating those ads. We do that for you. And we have those professional personalized ads for teachers. So we have something that we call at NYC an ad generator, which as an NYC teacher, you can go to, type in the information in one of the ads that you see in that generator that you like, put in your information and things like that. But let's say you don't like anything you see in that ad generator. Well, we have two fabulous people at head office called David and Calvin that are ready to create anything that you wish. And actually at the Nova Scotia meeting that I was just at earlier today, one of the teachers had an amazing idea of wrapping water bottles with some NYC branding and going to see the parks and talking to moms and families about NYC. And so Calvin's going to be making those water bottle wraps for that teacher. Our students receive parent support in class and at home, develop a well-rounded musicianship skills, go on to have success in private lessons on piano or other instruments, make lifelong friends through the program, develop the happy habit of learning music, and gain valuable technique and composing skills. Here are some just amazing student awards. As you can see, with Conservatory Canada, our students one year have in 2021 won over 40 medals in Conservatory Canada alone. Our teachers in Singapore and Malaysia with ABRSM consistently receive first-class honors with distinction. So our students are really the proof is in the pudding with our students because they are amazing musicians and do such a great job in musicianship as well as exams and festivals. So some teacher testimonials that I just thought I would share. I've been teaching NYC for more than 35 years and love it. The program covers so many musical aspects, making it the most comprehensive group keyboard class in Canada. The training and support from head office and regional leaders is amazing. I feel very lucky to be part of this professional team of teachers. This one's from Alberta. Discovering NYC program when I started teaching transformed my career. I have sincerely thrived as a teacher by having the support of my fellow NYC teachers and head office team. My students' families love the NYC program, but I also really appreciate the professional development offered throughout the year. I'd like to say that NYC program is fun exercise for the brain and the body, but the parented element of the program has always been a game changer for my families. They love the time together and learning with music at home in class. And one more here. I've taught the NYC for 15 years and continue to be impressed by the capabilities of the young kids I teach. NYC incorporates all learning styles into each lesson, ensuring success from everyone. We have so much fun learning and making music together. Truly an amazing team, and that's from Winnipeg. This is a parent testimonial because again, the proof is in the pudding. We adore NYC. When I asked my 7-year-old twins what they especially loved, their list was very long and detailed. The first thing they both mentioned was that it's fun. They love the sound of the pianos playing all together. Plus, I think opportunities for ensemble playing takes the fear out of performing solo. They look forward to getting to see their teacher and music friends each week, and they have fond memories of learning about critters and are so proud of how much they have accomplished since that first year of NYC. That was the same one. Okay, so summary. Group lessons give more benefits. We have more benefits for students and teacher. We have parent involvement. We have a well-rounded music education, a firm foundation, ongoing support and training, lesson planning and maps. You're wondering like, okay, Olivia, so you've been talking for an hour. How do you put this all together? Yes, we have lesson planning maps and teacher manuals that support you making those lesson plans. You have your own micro website within nyc.com, and our active teachers are included in our national teacher directory. Okay, that's it, Derek. If you are interested in becoming an NYC teacher, you can apply at nyc.com and reach out to me directly, Olivia at NYC.
Okay, wonderful energy. I'll give you a second here just to catch your breath. I know that's exhausting talking for an hour straight like that with your energy. Okay. Your energy just so matches the NYC program and what I've come to know of it. And I think of a couple of things. I mean, number one, I've examined many NYC exam candidates over the years, over the last 20 years. And they always float to the top in terms of, you know, the preparation on their skills, their understanding of the theory. All of this shows up in the, not only the grade 1 exam, but those graduates, you know, more than likely tend to go on and do other exams through private lessons as they get older, which is really great to see. And then I think about, you know, this past year when I teach at the university, I have a few students, and I had a university student come to me, a young fella from Vietnam. And I was trying to discern what his background was and what he wanted to get out. And of course, he said, no, I used to take, I'm an NYC graduate from years ago.
Oh my gosh, awesome.
And I mean, the extraordinary ability with which he could not only sight read, but play musically, all these things, you could tell his toolbox was still full, probably 15 years later after the experience, not having had piano lessons at all. And of course, he just aced the theory entrance exam so he could get in and take piano lessons through the university. So it was a neat thing to make that connection and see that happen with an NYC.
That's very cool. Yeah. And that is, you know, what's amazing is because we instill this love of music and this openness and holistic approach, many of our students do continue in exams. And I know that's part of a challenge right now as a private teacher, as you know, that you know, it used to be, okay, well, you get to grade 8, right? Or you get to this level, or you get to that level. And then all of a sudden now you get to level 5. Or you get to grade 5, right? And we've noticed that change, but our NYC students just, you know, they don't think it's a big deal. It's just part of what you do, and it's lots of fun, and there you go.
They get that background early, and we know the studies show the earlier you start, the more success you're going to have. And yeah, for them to get to level 5 is quite easy, I think. Still, it's exceeding the mean in terms of how far they get. Mm-hmm. Anyone have any questions? I know in presentations like this, they're so detailed, they're so thorough, it's hard to come up with a question. And so that's why I've learned anyway in my presentations, that's what's happening. And that's why I suspect the same thing is here. But does anyone have anything at all they want to ask Olivia on the spot here? Raise your hand, throw it in the Q&A, throw it in the chat box. We appreciate your participation and your attention during this time, during these webinars. And that was certainly very rich. I think of the composition competition as well. I know I judged it a couple of years back when it was first held online at the beginning of the pandemic. I mean, it was so neat to hear all the different compositions. And what really struck me was, you know, the 4- and 5-year-olds submitting compositions, and really the best ones that really struck you were the ones who weren't really able to even think about the theory yet so much, probably, but they were really good and touching sometimes the things.
It blows my mind. There's like, people will ask, they're like, there's no way a child wrote that. But one of the things that I love about NYC, besides a foundation and knowledge, is that we are really focusing on teaching children on how to find their voice. Yeah. And, you know, and maybe that's through composition, maybe that's through rhythm, maybe that's through piano, but, you know, that composition aspect of our curriculum really allows some of our students to shine because they've never found their voice. And during the pandemic, what was so interesting is there were a lot of compositions about COVID and how much they hated COVID and what it did and how scary it was. And, you know, one of the students, I think, that ended up winning during the pandemic, she had COVID and her parents locked her in a room. And she had nothing to do but play the piano, and she wrote this composition.
How about that?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, truly amazing.
It,
You referenced to the e-exams that you first did. You did the original pilot. We had a team videoing that whole experience. Those videos still live on the CC website. If you want to learn all about e-exams, you can still go there and see those videos. That was back, I believe, 2007 even, that was done. Susan's saying, I used to teach NYC 20 years ago, looking to get back to it again. Are the training seminars held just once a year or more often?
Hi, Susan. So right now there are 2 level 1 sessions open for this summer. There's one quickly coming up at the beginning of June. It is still a 4-day format. The one in June, though, I've broken up over 2 Thursdays and Fridays over 2 weeks. And then there's a level 1 training session that's happening in August. Of course, with the pandemic, we have transitioned to training online. So that's giving us a little bit more flexibility, and we are transitioning slowly back to having in-person training as well.
Excellent. Okay, good to know. Any other questions from anybody? I know we're at the top of the hour here, just past it. And I know we appreciate Olivia's time, and I know she appreciates our attention too, but she deserves a break.
Absolutely.
She's been busy presenting all morning from what I understand in meetings, and you need a long weekend here just to finish recovering and make sure you heal up nice.
I hope so. Yeah,
I hope you get
I
that
do.
break.
Yeah, I feel lucky I didn't have a full-on coughing fit. It was close a couple times.
I don't know how you did it. That was great.
What vitamin C drink, Derek? Vitamin C drink.
Yes,
Hmm.
vitamin C. Liposomal if you can find it, everybody.
Yes.
Anyway, it's a whole other discussion.
A whole other discussion. Yeah.
Everyone, thanks for your attention. Olivia, thanks for your presentation and for being here, and hello to everyone who's watching this on replay after the fact. I know most of you are in that habit now, and we're appreciative of it. We'll see hopefully all of you next Friday with Eleanor and Cecile for the final webinar of the year. And until then, have a great long weekend across Canada here. Hope you enjoyed that 3rd day off, and I hope you're taking it off. And we'll see you all again soon. Bye for now,
Thank you so
everybody.
much.
Thanks, Olivia.
Bye.